Have you ever had a really bad day? I mean, the kind of day where nothing seems to go right. In 1998, I was working as an emergency room doctor in Bristol, Connecticut. My bad day started at 2 a.m. when our 3-year-old daughter, Melissa, had her fourth nightmare of the night, screaming, "Mommy, Daddy, there's another monster under my bed." Oh. My wife, Loretta, and I hadn't had a wink of sleep all night. And I was scheduled to work a 12-hour shift in the emergency room at 7 a.m. So I was really starting to unravel. That's when Loretta gave me a calming kiss, followed by her favorite line: "Don't sweat the small stuff." Don't sweat the small stuff? I never really knew what that meant. I got to where I was as an emergency physician by sweating over everything, from girls to grad school. As I finally fell asleep that night, I never imagined that would change. Beep, 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 beep. 6 a.m. Already? I quickly threw on my clothes and ran out the door to find 2 feet of snow in my driveway. After shoveling my way out to the road for half an hour, I crawled through stop and go traffic all the way to work. I finally arrived an hour late and a dozen patients behind. It was the usual mix of coughs, sore throats, aches and pains. But at 11:36 a.m., the double doors burst open as the paramedics barreled in, frantically giving chest compressions to a limp and lifeless 2-month-old boy. We all descended on the child at once, working feverishly to give him an airway, intravenous lines, and drugs to restart his heart. Normally, we only work to revive patients for about 20 minutes. But this boy was so tiny, like Melissa was at that age. None of us wanted to give up on him. We tried everything for over an hour. But there was no response. Not one single heartbeat the whole time. Finally, I had to pronounce him dead. Some of us sobbed. I just fell silent at the gravity of losing a child. When I broke the news to the parents, there was an ear-piercing "No!" that echoed through the halls, making us all feel even lower. We were so physically exhausted and emotionally drained, we could no longer function. The hospital sent us all into grief counseling, where we spent hours pouring out our feelings. But I felt no better. When I got back home, I just collapsed on the living room couch. I felt defeated. Loretta hadn't seen me yet, and she called to me from the kitchen. "Steve, Melissa's been really bad today. She knocked over the fishbowl, killing all the fish. I think there's still one missing. You better have a talk with her and help her find that last fish before it starts to smell." "Yes, dear." Melissa slowly peered out from behind the doorway, her eyes welling with tears as she whimpered, "Sorry about the fishbowl, Daddy. I didn't mean to. Please don't be mad at me." "Come here, sweetie." Melissa slowly crept out toward me, eyeing me, as though I were that monster from beneath her bed. When she came close enough, I just scooped her up in my arms and held her so tightly she could hardly breathe. And as I did so, I thanked God for the feel of her heart. Bum, 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 bum. beating strongly against my own. Then I whispered in her ear, "It's okay. Daddy knows you're a good girl. And I love you." Oh, Melissa, I realized that the people I love are all that really matter. Everything else is small stuff. Suddenly, all the badness I suffered that day just melted away. I'd stepped on broken glass picking up Melissa, and I barely even noticed my foot was bleeding. There was an ice storm howling outside, and I felt like going out and dancing in it, bleeding foot and all. In that moment, I felt so blessed and at peace with the whole world. Until Loretta barged in screaming, "Is that how you're going to discipline her?" Hi, honey. I know this isn't what you're expecting, but when I tell you about the day that I've had, I think you'll see that this was just small stuff. Let's go out for dinner. For some reason, I'm in the mood for sushi tonight. I shared my day with my family on the drive out to the restaurant, and that changed everything for them as well. The rest of the evening was amazing. Even though we drove through ice and snow for over an hour, it was just small stuff. The kitchen took forever to get us our food. Small stuff. When the food finally came, it was the wrong order, even though we were the only patrons there. Small stuff. The restaurant owner was so pleased that we didn't raise a fuss, he gave us an extra order of food for free. And somehow, it tasted better than ever. You may know someone who often gets upset and has a hard time handling life's little bumps. If you can, help them to not sweat the small stuff. It just might change their life, like it did for me. Madam Contest Chair.